equality for all. And the question of how to do that, well, we say we base our work on international law and human rights and the United Nations resolutions, and we work to change U.S. policy, meaning government policy and corporate policy. So we use BDS, we use boycott, divestment, and sanctions as a strategy in keeping with a global strategy around the world. We talk about ending military aid to this over-armed nuclear power in the region, and we talk about accountability. We talk about changing a policy that ignores the obligation of the U.S. for holding Israel accountable, the obligation that comes from being the main sponsor, the main funder, the main enabler of a country that has committed far too many war crimes. But there are times when our work moves at a faster pace, and I think we're living through one of those times right now. We're seeing an incredible shift. Gaza, in the last 18 months, I guess it's a little more than 18 months, has dramatically changed the equation of how people in our country, leaders, ordinary people, everybody, see the Middle East and see our country's, our government's role in the Middle East. It's changed the equation. When Operation Cast Lead happened, Israel's top goal was to get the press out so that nothing would be seen. It didn't work. That just doesn't work anymore. There's too many people who have cell phone flip cameras that can get their stuff on. In the few hours when there was electricity available, the first thing people would do is charge their cell phones, charge their computers to send the footage out. Al Jazeera had a camera crew already in Gaza. The word got out as it was happening, and it changed the discourse. The impact was extraordinary. And then, in just this last couple of months, the flotilla. This wasn't the first flotilla. This was one of several flotillas, but the impact was different this time. The flotilla played an extraordinary role. The flotilla crisis, the massacre that resulted from the flotilla, the killing of 9 and the wounding of more than 50 people on board the Mavi Marmara. It was an extraordinary moment. And at that moment, I was in Turkey at the time watching this in Istanbul, watching it happen, and we heard what was going on at sea in international waters. And there were helicopters. We don't know for sure yet if they were Black Hawk or Apache, but my Israeli colleagues tell me that it had to be one or the other because all of the Israeli war helicopters are either Black Hawks or Apaches, which meant we paid for them. Our corporations created them. And it changed the discourse. It changed the discourse. One of the people on board the Mavi Marmara, the great Brazilian filmmaker Yara Lee, who is also a member and a supporter, a longtime supporter of the U.S. campaign to end Israeli occupation, through her Cultures of Resistance, she managed to get her film off. All the other film was confiscated, all the cell phones were confiscated, all the cameras were confiscated, all the journalists had their tapes stolen, re-edited, used illegally by Israel. Yara managed to get hers out. She smuggled it out in her underwear. Very smart girl. And it worked, seen all around the world, showing what actually happened. Doesn't show, you can't show all of it with one person with one camera on an enormous boat being in the dead of night in international waters. But her film has come out, and we're going to begin tonight with a few minutes of that film from the Cultures of Resistance. It's very, because we know what the aftermath of it was. An extraordinary impact, that attack. These 9 people, 9 Turks, one of them a dual national, Turkish-American, did not die with no impact. The impact has been huge. Those who sailed with them on that boat and the other boats of the flotilla have accomplished a great deal in this long-running effort to change the discourse and ultimately to change the policy in this country. And we are honoring them tonight, the Free Gaza movement, the flotilla, and I'd like to ask everyone who was on the boats to come up now. Nick, Ramzi. We are honoring tonight the Free Gaza movement. We are honoring their work. We are honoring their inspiration. And we're going to hear first from Iara Lee, who wanted to be here tonight to receive the award on behalf of those who were on the flotilla from the Free Gaza movement, who made the film. She wasn't able to be here tonight. But we do have a brief statement from her that Fatima Mahdi from Viva Palestina will read.
Assalamu alaikum. These are the words of Yara. I humbly accept this award on behalf of the 9 courageous humanitarians who were murdered on May 31st, and on behalf of their families, as well as everyone else who has lost their life protesting the inhumane imprisonment of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Their martyrdom showed the world the kind of courage that can only come from a sincere and deep love for humanity. We must preserve and cherish their memory as a monument to this love, and never forget the sacrifice they made for the sake of all humanity, regardless of race, religion, or politics. I want to thank the U.S. campaign to end the Israeli occupation for all of their courageous work over the years, and in particular for providing a venue where truth can be heard. The video our camera team smuggled out shows how a diverse group of people whose goal was to share solidarity and deliver humanitarian aid were terrorized on the open seas. This fundamental truth has been flagrantly omitted and distorted in mainstream media accounts of what happened. So when you leave here, show this video to your friends and to their friends. We here in the United States are on the forefronts of the media struggle to show the truth of what is happening in occupied Palestine and to help bring this injustice to an end. As to my own comments, I just wanted to say that I appreciate everybody's not only support of everyone who is on the flotilla and those who have run missions into Gaza and into Palestine, humanitarian aid missions, not only on convoys but on flotillas and boat trips as well. I know that there's a lot of efforts in organizing. I just drove down here last night from Chicago, and there's a lot of bustle in Chicago to organize for the next flotilla. One thing that my organizers, I'm no longer with Viva Palestina, but the organizers that assisted me on the last 2 convoys that were both successful, alhamdulillah, to Gaza in July and in December, one thing that we would always come back and say was how important it was to actually go into Gaza, see with your own eyes, and then come back and report on what you had seen and what you experienced, to get people, to raise their awareness, of course, here in the States, but also to utilize the media outlets and the community organizations that we do have already working on the ground in order to spread these, educate more people. What you saw in the video was, of course, just a portion of what happened on the Mavi. And every time I see it, it grips me in a way that I can't even describe. And I've spent literally since I got back the last month and a half trying to write down the details, of what happened, from just simply 11 p.m. until, say, 9 a.m. that morning, because I did see a lot of what happened on deck on the Mavi. And it's so difficult, but it's so powerful and it's so necessary. But that doesn't make my job more important in any way than, or anybody up here's job more important in any way, or their voice more loud than anybody sitting here today. It's important for all of us to see all of these things and to educate ourselves, and then to turn back into our own communities, into our own families, and into our networks, and spread this type of information, the truth and the reality of what happens, and what especially happens under Israeli brutality, so that we can go ahead and end this occupation, inshallah.
Thank you, Fatima.